doing this for just over 10 years. I do a lot of channeling and I bring a lot of people through from the other side when they're ready. And so I've actually got two wonderful people here. And so my Patreon groups know that I was going to be channeling Rob Reiner, that when he passed, he would come through and he would kind of jump in, say hello, and tap me on the shoulder. And I've also got Diane Keaton here, which is kind of unexpected and super fun. I always tell people as a channeler, when it comes to channelings like this, I let them come through and choose me. I let them decide what they want to share. If they want to come through and channel, I don't reach out to them in terms of that. When I do a mediumship reading, on the other hand, and it's someone asking for a loved one, very different situation, right? When it comes to people who are well known, I let them come to me, and I don't do these types of channelings all the time. I used to do a lot of them years ago. But this is unique because, again, I knew Rob was tapping on the shoulder to come through. I did not know Diane was going to come in until the second we got started. And I was like, is that who I think it is? And so they're both showing me them being connected, and they're reaching their arms out to each other like this, and they're doing the fingers, but like reaching out. And I just see them being very, like, they're both very jolly, very spirited. And Rob kept giving me this line from Sleepless in Seattle where he goes, "Hello, Diane," where he's pretending to be Cary Grant. And it was just, I think he's pretending to be Cary Grant in it. And it just cracks me up. He says it to Tom Hanks. And then I'm seeing him kind of like, he's kind of stepping forward a little bit more first. And he's showing me, he's doing a little dancing. And he said he wants to share a little bit of his afterlife experience. So I'm just going to kind of let him talk rather than asking him a bunch of questions and seeing what he says. I like to just let them bring it through. He said, I want them to understand my death it was something bigger. It kind of made a splash. He said, and it looked like something that was massive and catastrophic. And he said, on Earth, a lot of things feel very personal to people. And he said, especially for people that in this lifetime, I happen to be well known. And he goes, in a past lifetime, I was an ant. He goes, I was a little itty bitty ant. And I will say, before we get too into this, I've been noticing, as I've been noticing him coming in on and off since his passing, it's almost like each time he comes in, he wants to make me laugh. Like, he wants to make me comfortable with him. And I kind of got the feeling of that being very, like, I didn't know him personally, obviously, but that feels like maybe like how he was. So what he keeps saying is, in a past life, I was a little teeny ant. And in another lifetime, he had a lifetime where he was very secluded. There was no internet. There was no, it was way back. He's showing me 300 to 400 years back. He lived in what would now be like Mongolia. No internet, no technology. There is no being, internationally known celebrity type of stuff unless you're some sort of ruler. And he was just a very peaceful, he looked like he worked with farming, some sort of agriculture. And so he said, in each lifetime, you have to understand, we come through and we play different parts, we play different roles. We kind of know what our calling is. We also have free will and we can choose. He said, these are all things we kind of forget. Like, I kind of forgot. And he goes, but I would say I used my free will well. Yeah. And then Diane was like, yes. She's over there cheering. She's like, absolutely. And he said, I think we did a good job. And she was just like, props. Like, and he's very like, he keeps saying, I feel like I did a good job in this lifetime. I feel like I came here, I set out my heart on what I wanted to do. And he said, in this lifetime, I wanted to use my creativity. I really wanted to be able to have a creative calling. Like, I wanted to be able to do things to, get in there and brainstorm. And like, he really wanted to bring ideas to life. And he said, so there's lots of paths you can take for that in a lifetime. But in this lifetime, there was a little bit more of like a choice of my assignment. And he wanted to come in and he wanted to be on, he's showing me the Golden Globes. And he knew that from the beginning. So that was important to him. He said, but it wasn't important for the ways you think. It wasn't like an ego importance, like I have to be known. But when you get on Earth, you start to get that. He said like that ego kind of gets in there, and he said we all have an ego as humans. It keeps us safe in our bodies. Like it helps us stay in physical form and keeps us from doing something, silly, like walking over a cliff. Like it helps with like our judgment of time and space and where we are in physical space and keeping our bodies alive. But a lot of times it gets out of control. And he said, so yeah, I had some of that here, but also I knew I needed a little bit in order to do some of the things I set out to do. And I need to be comfortable being seen. I need to be comfortable being known in this lifetime. I needed to be comfortable being heard. And I also wanted other people to shine too. He's wanting other people's ideas to get made. And there was some times where he said, I felt a little territorial over some of my ideas or my thought processes or certain characters I was like developing, where I was like, no, I really want this one to be like this. I can see it. I can feel it. This guy's supposed to be like this. But he said he did learn throughout his lifetime. He's showing how to work with people, how to finesse things, to not be too stubborn, to blend things a little bit more. And he said, so of course, when you come to Earth, you have, maybe certain goals or certain routes you want to take, but you might have free will as to how you go about it. And you're going to learn lessons in terms of how you go about it. He said, one of my great lessons was it's okay to be known, but to not get, he said, when you get into your ego too much, you lose your connection with reality. And that was something he said he really worked hard not to do. He said, I had people around me who were very grounded, very secure. He's referencing his wife. He said, my beloved. And she's here. She's back a little bit, though. She's kind of like not in the spotlight as much. I heard light of my life. And he's saying, but really I was here to be grounded. But I also needed to have my consciousness stretching out into the other realms to be able to bring ideas and really cool things to form. And he's showing me different roles he got to play. He's referencing when he got to play Jess's dad on New Girl. And he said, I also wanted to welcome things like that, like surprise and delight, where you get to go in there and you just get to do a little episode where it's like, hey, this is fun for right now. And he said, you get to see what the kids are doing, what the kids are creating. I was like, nice. I said, love it. He goes, get hip, get with it, get a little bit more. It's like, I love it. And he goes, the millennial generation is my favorite. He goes, they were so full of spunk, so full of ideas. And he's showing kids walking around where he would be like, how about that? Like the style he'd have. And he said, I really liked to watch how they did things. I felt like they were really revolutionary. Even if certain things I'm like, I was always like, I don't know about that. But he said he actually really liked he liked the youthfulness and the playfulness. He said, but the paparazzi gets out of hand, though. He's showing the phones up and people filming everything and everyone. And he goes, you guys censor yourselves so badly, and then you're upset about fascism. And he's like, but you guys are policing each other all the time. And he goes like that. And he goes, it's one of those things where it's like you see it when you die, you get a higher perspective. And he goes, not like higher as in like, I am God, listen to me. And he put on a robe with like a staff. But he said, it's more of like a humbling. And he said, but nothing's judging you. You're just aware. You become aware of things. You see them. You see life and things you went through and the way things work on Earth. And you go, oh, yeah. And he said, you kind of know it all at once. Not as in like a grandiose knowing, but just a clarity, like a clarity, a peace of mind. And he said, and so, but for me on Earth, I wasn't here to really know about a lot of things. I just was here to be in my niche. He said, my role was really partially an entertainer. I was an uplifter. I was here to bring people joy because life is going to be hard enough. I was here to stretch my creative powers, to stretch my creative senses. I didn't get to do that in other lifetimes to the degree I might have wanted. In this lifetime, I wanted to be able to have that and express that and lift. He's showing uplifting other people being really important to him. He said, I would say I accomplished that. And he said, I would also say I made mistakes. There were some mistakes I made where maybe I scrutinized some people too much, or, maybe made certain people feel ashamed or judged by me. And he said, but I do feel like a feeling of, oh, well, I go to them now, to these people. He won't show me who they are. And I said, is there anyone you want to name publicly? He was like, no, I don't want anyone name names. I don't want anyone to feel ashamed or called out or anything like that. But he is saying, I just wanted people to know when we do something that we feel kind of bad about, or we're like, oh, like once you get once you pass, you get to the afterlife experience and you see how you impacted someone. If you impacted them really well, you visit them. If you impacted them negatively, you also visit them, and you try to uplift them a little bit more from your spiritual perspective, because you want to counterbalance maybe what you did that made them feel bad on earth. He said we can't control people receive it, but we might, like, he's showing the Care Bear stare, and how they would just beam bright energy to people. He's showing me the one that had like an ice cream cone on its belly, who was like, ha. And he said, so we might, like, send a little love, a little energy to that person to help boost them up or lift them up. They might have an epiphany. We might try to get through to them. Like our soul might come through and try to send a message like, hey, I'm really sorry I said that to you. I hope you know I don't feel that way now. I didn't realize I hurt you that way. Just don't listen to me. Forget what I said. That type of thing. Or, hey, don't make it mean anything about you. He said that's a really important message for people. Is sometimes people say things and it's out of turn and they just had a bad day, but people really take it to heart. He said, so there's a lot about learning how to clear, work with feelings and work with energy going on earth, and the evolution of consciousness. And he's going like that, like it's mind blowing. I was like, anything else you want to share? He said, I know people are going to have a lot of questions about my son, Nick. He said, I want them to know I love him to pieces. I don't blame him for what happened. As always, there's so much more going on than people understand. He goes, and I just love him. He goes, I love my kids. I love my family. It's making me want to cry because I can feel how he feels about them. And it's like pride, but not like pride as in like ego, like deep, heartfelt pride. He said, while there's not like an excusing of, he's showing like violence on earth and people taking each other's lives. He said, from my spiritual perspective, this might be hard to hear for some people now, but I don't blame him for anything. We don't hang on to that here. It doesn't make it okay on earth to harm other people, to hurt other people, to do things without their consent. He said that's something that exists in the 3D world. It doesn't exist in the spiritual realms, because he said it's hard to describe it in the physics of the quest. Really, that's something that we're working on changing on earth from a spiritual perspective. And he said, so my son and I have had many lifetimes in which we've been part of each other's processes and part of each other's passings in different ways and part of each other's growth. And he said, sometimes it's not always for everyone else to understand each other's growth cycles as souls. But he said, what I can say is that my son and I were intertwined very deeply in this lifetime, as was, was my whole family, showing his children, he's showing his wife, he's showing, other family members and friends that were like family to him. And he said, and we're all one big happy family in a sense. We're all here for a larger collective purpose. Like our soul group had a larger purpose, just the same way your group has a purpose. And he said, sometimes there are certain things that happen and it's like the free will of things gets in there and interferes. But he said, overall, the things that the goals that we have in life, the larger, he said it's hard to describe, but it's like there's a larger blueprint, and how that blueprint comes to life or how things get made, it's like you're going to achieve that no matter what. Of course, we've got tree trimmers or leaf blowers. But he's saying no matter what, that goal gets accomplished, but sometimes it gets accomplished in weird ways, or he said there can be a lot of judgment around that. We might have to come back because we suddenly have a lot of leaf blowing. So I will come back and maybe do a part 2 here. And he goes, oh, shucks. And Diane's over here like, what about me? We'll come back. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I had no idea that they were gonna do that.